Namaste. My name is Venkatesh Babu. Yeah. My question to you is, there are two questions. One, role of Gandhi in was there a role of Gandhi in making Bharat to India? Second question, as you said, I also follow on Twitter, and then I've seen many of your videos. You said you're against freebies, but you support for reservation.
Right.
You're calling that. Thank you.
I'll answer both questions. I think it's a fantastic question. Thanks for actually pointing out this inconsistency. So let me come to the reservation question first. You see, here is a situation where the Hindu community at this point is looking at massive silent conversions. And you have to find a way to hold these people back. In fact, in two speeches just a few months ago, I addressed this very specific question to say, the best way to kill the Hindu identity is by expanding the scope of reservations. And reservations will now slowly be pushed into the private sector. That talk has already started. That is, according to me, a single unmissable weapon of finishing the Hindu community in one stroke. Because after that, you will forget everything else and you'll be busy fighting amongst yourself. That's the end of the matter. So the alternative that I've proposed is that the funds of the temple must be earmarked for education and upliftment of those truly marginalized communities, with the temple taking responsibility for their education significantly. That way, we ensure that the funds of the temple are used for those who believe in the temple. And second, that you also have an alternative to the reservation system. I am not going to discuss the merits of the reservation system. I am simply proceeding on the basis that once a society becomes used to a certain freebie, it's very difficult to take it back. As a student, I've traveled in unreserved compartments. You will always be angry as long as the other person is sitting, but the moment you sit, you think it's your right. That is the nature of reservation. Those who are angry at reservation, if the very same benefit were to be extended to you, would your community say no? We are not sure. We don't know. So it's not a question of being against reservation in principle, it is a question of you being left out of reservation. That is the hypocrisy of the question. Not aimed at you, I'm saying in general that's been the issue. Therefore, you have to find a replacement to that particular problematic solution. If you cannot offer a replacement to it, you are going to create a deeper caste-related discussion when in fact there are bigger problems to look at. So my suggestion has been that major temples whose funds are being used for non-Hindu purposes should start diverting it in this particular direction. That's one option. And the second thing is, at least for the last 15 years, there has been a discussion on at least removing the creamy layer from the reservation category. As a society, you have not been able to agree to even remove the creamy layer after generations of at least 2 generations of people enjoying that, and you think you're ready for removal of reservations? Look at the level of our preparation. We are not. I've said this again, at least in multiple places, that there must come a point where some communities come forward and say, we don't need reservations anymore. That change has started in Tamil Nadu, of all the places, which has the highest reservation in the country, 69% constitutionally, which is unconstitutional. Because over 50% is not possible, but an exception was created to Tamil Nadu. Thanks to Dravidianism, that state has become an exceptional state for all the wrong reasons. I say this bluntly. I have a serious problem with their ideology. I think it's a cancer. It's the single biggest reason for proliferation of conversions in this part of the country. And you will see how it will spill over to other states. I have a huge request to make of non-Tamil states in the south. Please protect yourself from Dravidianism. Let that cancer not bite you. I say this. I'm sure, absolutely sure I'm going to get hate mail for this and trolling for this, but that's okay. I don't mind. This has to be said. I'm saying this. You will start seeing Dravidianism being pushed through your movies. It'll start. Because pop culture has become a weapon to quickly spread an idea. That has already started in the Telugu film industry. I've been watching it. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge movie buff. And especially when it comes to Puranika movies, I go absolutely bonkers. But I've been seeing what's happening there. Wait and watch before this enters the Kannada film industry. It'll start. So stop it as soon as possible. Do not give Dravidianism a space anywhere, neither politically, nor socially, nor culturally. It should not find breathing space at all. Now, coming to the first part of your question, I don't think there is any individual whose balance sheet reads perfectly assets and zero liabilities. To put it in your language, individuals are mixed bags. So on certain issues, you will find that you agree with Gandhi. On certain issues, you will never be able to agree with Gandhi. I refuse to call him Mahatma. I've never called him Mahatma. I will not call him Mahatma. For me, he's just Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. I don't think you should deify someone so much. If Sri Rama can be criticized, why should Gandhi not be criticized? Is Gandhi bigger than Rama, who he worshipped? He's not. And he was a politician, not a saint. He was a politician, not a saint. Remember that. Keep telling yourself that each time you're tempted to worship a politician, regardless of whoever he is or she is. I mean, from a land of Dravidian Nadu, which speaks of rationality and which was falling at the feet of politicians, I mean, it's surprising that they speak of rationality. They will not fall at the feet of gods, but they'll fall at the feet of politicians. That is the hypocrisy of Dravidianism. Coming to your question, you have to realize that he had his notions of dharma, which were fairly clear in certain respects. However, the problematic part of his history is his attitude towards the riots. And you don't have to go to the riots of, let's say, during the partition of 1946-47, the direct action day riots, nothing. You just read his reactions to the Mopla riots of 1921. And this gentleman was giving the same advice to the Jews as he was giving to the Hindus. He was asking the Jews to walk into the gas chambers. He was asking the Hindus to go and die. He said this as much in both places. I think he needed professional help at some stage. Simply because someone who is asking a community to surrender itself to mass slaughter is not speaking from a position of responsibility at the very least. Whether he is speaking from a position of sanity or not, I leave it to your best judgment. If I decide to say I will sacrifice my life in the interest of peace, that's a decision that I take with respect to me. The consequences are for me alone to face. I have no right to ask a community to sacrifice itself at the altar of peace. Community's first right is to protect itself and to preserve itself, not to surrender itself at the altar of this mythical unity. So therefore, there are some serious problems. So in the context of Gandhi versus Jinnah, I would say there is a problem with his assessment of the situation. In the context of Gandhi versus Ambedkar, you will be surprised that he gave fantastic responses to some of Ambedkar's positions. So it's a question of issue and it's a question of who he was being pitted against. So I believe that he is a mixed bag. But the net result is perhaps he has induced a certain degree of servility and docility in the community, which is the serious problem. The Hindu Kshatriya spirit should have been revived. So as part of the second book, which the pre-order link is just out, it's called India, Bharat and Pakistan, the constitutional journey of a sandwiched civilization. India, Bharat and Pakistan, that's the title of the book, which is Bharat is stuck between India and Pakistan. As far as the revolutionary movement is concerned, you should see how from 1857 onwards, right until the 1940s, there are parallel armed resistance movements across the country, Bengal and Punjab being two focal points or foci. The amount of trouble that they gave to the British in 1909, which is when the concept of separate electorates for Muslims was introduced under what is known as the Minto-Morley reforms. bomb blasts in the year starts with bomb blasts in Bengal, both Bengals, because by then Bengal has been partitioned into Bengal and Eastern Bengal and Assam. So bomb blasts there. An attempt at the life of the viceroy in Ahmedabad. Ambala is seeing bomb blasts. Persons and public prosecutors and policemen who are trying cases against revolutionaries were murdered and killed in broad daylight. Daring activities. Today you call them terrorism, but I call it revolutionaries. The amount of effort that they put in. Sri Aurobindo was a revolutionary at the end of the day before he became a saint. He was arrested in the Alipur bomb case because he was actively participating in bomb manufacturing. I am proud of that legacy. I will not run away from that legacy. If I have to choose between his legacy and Gandhi's legacy, I will always go with Sri Aurobindo. Hindutva is not the product of Savarkar. It is the product of 3 people first. In fact, 4 people first. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal and Sri Aurobindo. Because these were the first people to have a serious disagreement with the Congress's peaceful policy with the British. Saying you're asking for equal rights from a colonizer, you must be crazy. The man doesn't even think of you as being racially equal. How is he going to treat you as an equal subject of rights? I focus on these parts of the history as part of the second book. That period witnessed a lot of people. So some people who we worship out of convenience may have certain negative aspects to them. And some people who we hate may have certain positive aspects to them. I think it's a question of how you balance it out ultimately. So that's my answer. Hopefully, I've not been diplomatic in answering your question.